Calais woman over 40 years ago appeared before a judge in Calais today. 65-year-old Raymond Brown was arrested in Bangor yesterday after he was indicted by a Washington County grand jury for murder. The judge says if convicted, Brown could face 25 years to life in prison. Brown is accused of killing 18-year-old Linda Maxwell, who was last seen in the Calais area in August 1984. Maxwell's body was found along the shoreline of the St. Croix River in Robbinston 2 days later. During today's hearing, Brown entered a not guilty plea to the charges.
And are you entering a plea of not guilty to those allegations today?
Yes.
Not guilty plea is entered to the charge laid by indictment. State's position on bail is no bail pending further action by the court.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Van Rawls, you want to be heard?
Yes, Your Honor, we would just ask that when Mr. Brown has been assigned an attorney, that they will have an opportunity to address bail.
They will, and in the meantime, consistent with the law, there'll be no bail pending further order of the court.
The court documents in this case have been sealed, so we do not know what led to Brown's arrest more than 4 decades later. State police are asking anyone with information related to this case to contact them. Brown's next hearing was not scheduled at this time.